Hello again, Honky Tonks. Firstly, I feel I must apologise for the umbrella. When I left the mob in 2005, I still felt I had to weather the elements. I would never have my hands in my pockets, and you never saw me with a hat or my hood up. It's just something that stayed with me for years. Other veterans will attest to this. You leave the army, but the army never leaves you. Now, the Irish have had enough. I think the recent referendum they had on a change to their constitution tells me it's still very much a conservative country. Now, I know I served in Ulster for 3 years. I did one residential 2-year tour and 2 6-monthers. And I never say to anyone I know everything that happens there, but I think I know enough. I was at the tail end of the Troubles. I did see my fair share of shit, but it was all dying down. So that's where my knowledge of Ulster comes from. I don't know everything, but I know enough. Anyway, the Republic, this was a vote in the Republic, and even though they voted to reject a change in the Constitution for what defines a family, basically, the Irish, thank goodness, have voted to keep the term family to mean family in the traditional sense, whereas the Constitution was to be changed by the government, Leo Varadkar, the EU muppet and puppet, to mean anything and anyone. So the term family would have been completely devalued and mean nothing in the end. And the only people who voted for us, if you look at the referendum map, were the Liberals in Dublin. And it's the same everywhere in major cities across Europe. These people, these woke left-waffer idiots, these out-of-touch people, they think that everyone should think the same as them, and if you don't, then you're a bigot. Anyway, back to this referendum. This is just a litmus test, I believe. A litmus test for a document that's already been written by the Irish government, or as I suspect, the EU. And it's something called the Ireland 2040 agenda. This is a real document, you can see it online. And this was planned 25 years in advance, which is weird because governments don't really plan that far ahead, do they? They really don't. Governments have what, 4 or 5 years tops, and then they change. So the things that they approve of and plan don't really go beyond 5 years. And if they do, on the rare occasion, then they go tits up. Look at HS2, for example. The cost for that has skyrocketed. Anyway, this Ireland 2040 document is bad news for the Irish. And before I continue, I just wonder, all those people cowards who fought for the IRA for all those years, did time in prison, murdered innocent men, women and children, is this the Ireland that they did all this for? I think they were duped. I think the likes of Martin McGuinness and Gerry Adams, they saw this coming and this is what they wanted. And they used these people. They romanticised an Irish Republic in order to recruit gullible people into doing these atrocities. And that's what's happening now. Don't you find it ironic that Gerry Adams is on Twitter calling for a ceasefire in Gaza? Innocent men, women and children. Think of the children being bombed by Israel. And this is the guy when he was under, was it in that cemetery where they got attacked and he held up a kid as a human shield. That's the same Gerry Adams calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Think of the children, he says. The monster. But I do wonder what these old IRA guys and women think when they see what Ireland is turning into. All in vain, wasn't it? All in vain. So this Ireland 2040 document agenda is essentially about immigration, and immigration is a huge topic at the moment. I've said before and I'll say it again, it'll be the defining issue of the next general election here in the UK. It'll define it, but it'll be people who are fed up with the Tories that decide it. Not through love of Labour, it'll be a protest vote. And that protest vote won't go for the Reform Party, it'll go to Labour, because Reform simply aren't trusted. But the goal of Ireland 2040 is to increase the population. It says it's to do with employment, get as many people into work as possible, but if you look into the finer details, and I've read it, it's to import more people from other cultures, a different way of life, which is fair enough, each to their own. You know, if you have a culture, everyone has a culture, and cultures deserve to be protected. But the cultures that aren't protected at the moment, which have been compromised, are our own. And I don't know why. Oh my God, I've got to cross this now. If I fall over, I'll keep it in for comedy value. Anyway. And ultimately, this Ireland 2040 document will change the shape of Ireland forever. I think we'll say goodbye to historical Irish culture and their way of life. Everything will go. And like I said, even though this referendum was an overwhelming no to the change of the Constitution, it's just a litmus test. Remember, the Irish people, or the Irish government gave the people a referendum on joining the EU. Irish people said no. The Irish government, or the EU, told the Irish government to come back with a different wording of the document, and then all of a sudden it was a resounding yes. And it'll be the same with this one. It was something like 62, 30, 38 of the population who voted, and the 62s won. But they'll do another referendum. And why is this only in Ireland, by the way? Ireland is a testing ground. It's a laboratory. It's a litmus test to what the EU want done. When have the EU ever asked its member states what they want? When have they ever asked the people, the European Union people? Never. That's because they want to be in control. The unelected bureaucrats in Brussels, they want control. And so they've used Ireland and this referendum to see which way the wind blows. They've seen which way the wind blows, and so they're just going to change everything. You watch, there'll be another referendum under a different wording, and it'll be a resounding yes. And the Irish people would have been fooled yet again. All they have to do is to vote against it. Thankfully, Ireland, like I said, is a very much conservative country. But there we go. That's the way things are heading. It'll happen there. It'll happen in every EU member state. And then it'll happen in the UK. England, Wales, Scotland. The Welsh and the Scots, the socialists there, the EU fanatics. Oh, they'll make sure they'll steamroll that in to make sure it happens. But there we go. Why does everyone else's culture get protected apart from ours? I like ours. I like free speech. I like democracy. And everything that comes with it. I don't want that to disappear. I want our elected representatives to be held accountable. That's why I voted out of the EU. The bureaucrats are not elected. They don't ask the people what they want. They tell them. And they're unaccountable. You can't get rid of them. So there we go. I mean, who the hell would vote for Guy Verhofstadt to represent them? Unless you're some EU fanatic, really. Anyway, that's my opinion on this matter. Thanks for walking with me. I really enjoyed it. I do enjoy these walks as much as I hope you enjoy them as well. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to my channel and sharing my stuff everywhere. And when you've done doing that, do your own videos. I'd watch them, I'd subscribe. Why not? The more people who think like us and have opinions like us, the better. Let's show those metropolitan elites, left raffer wankers in London and other cities across Europe that they're wrong, and we have to stand up to them. And we're not going away without a fight. They can't take everything our ancestors fought for and just piss it in the wind to suit their own woke agendas. That's the plan. Anyway, I'm Paz 49. Thanks for listening, and until next time, Roger Trout.